there's a reason that you see the TikTok videos of Lizzo on the treadmill singing, or I don't know who else, Broadway, Beyonce on the treadmill singing, and whoever on the like running full out and singing at the same time, because if that is a thing that you are going to like go on tour and do like if you're Britney Spears or Janet Jackson or somebody, there's a reason that they lip sync some of the stuff. But if you are going to sing live and move like that, your cardio has to be top notch. Yeah. You have to train that up.
Yeah. And I truly believe we can do anything we put our minds to.
Yes.
But are you ready to do the commitment? Because I think a lot of singers come to me and they go, I want to look like that. And I go, great. Go take dance class for a year and come back to me. Mm-hmm. No. I want to look like that in 2 weeks. I go, cool. That, and I know they never mean it this way, but it's insulting. When a director comes to me and says, hey, I want to take this artist and I want to take your top-notch dancers that have been dancing for 15 years and I want my artist to look doing the same choreo better than them.
Welcome to the Vocal Lab. I'm Sarah Ramsey, and this show aims to pull back the curtain on the entertainment industry, where veterans give up-and-coming artists some of the information they wish they'd had when they were just starting out. Sort of a music industry primer, if you will. Thanks for joining us on the Vocal Lab. This is actually part 2 of our interview. So if you haven't caught part 1 yet, head back to the episode right before this one and get all caught up, and then join us back here. We'll see you soon. So education-wise, I do like to talk to people about their sort of education in the field and recognize that in creative endeavors, there's a real mix of like, I talk to a lot of musicians, and so there's a real mix of trained musicians, musicians who've had no training and they've learned all by ear. And then in some fields within the music industry, there's been a place of where you're learning through more of a like kind of mentorship or apprenticeship. That often is more sort of like the recording engineers and that kind of thing. And for music, it's actually a thing where formal education does not at all predict what your place in the medium is going to be. It can be great, and you can absolutely be great without it. So, with dance, it's a little bit different. It's hard to be a well-rounded, completely self-taught dancer, I think. So you started dancing at age 3.
Yeah.
You said earlier you were inspired to become an entertainer by watching performers like Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, who were sort of able to do it all, right? And then in 2020, you were awarded a scholarship to study at the Stella Adler Academy of Acting and Theater in LA.
That is correct.
So do you want to walk us through the pieces of your training there that you feel like have really impacted your ability to be successful in your career?
Oh, gosh. It's a really good question. And you said it beautifully. I always tell my friends, I'm like, dance, acting, voice acting, motion capture, choreography, all the kind of assets of myself or aspects of myself. It's not a doctorate. There's not right now, if you go to be a surgeon, I imagine there's a generally accepted way of how to cut a person open, how to stitch a person closed. There are new people trying new things, but for the most part, it works for a long time. And if all of you cut the same person or different people with that same technique, most of you are going to get an okay outcome.
Right.
Art is very different because I could have 5 of my students do the exact same training program, the exact same regiment, the exact same studies at the exact same schools. And even if they look similar, even if they have similar technical prowess, even if they have similar voices, personality, every single one of them is going to have a different outcome. I have twins that are in the industry that some have really excelled, and they're both phenomenal artists in their craft. It's just those unpredictables that we can't match. So for me, you said it. I have friends who full on learned how to dance on YouTube. Is it the way I would personally recommend? No, but I think TikTok, YouTube, Instagram have created a realm where it's taken a lot of the, and I want to be careful with how I word this, but it's taken a lot of kind of the hierarchy of literal
Yeah.
income and household wage out of it. Because when you think of, let's be honest, ballet, a lot of that comes from European, it comes from the colonialism, it comes from a very high proper society. And dance is not cheap. So for a long
Right.
time, the thought was with all of these cultures of like, hey, you know, like you have to be in a class and you have to have a teacher and you have to have the perfect shoes and you have to have the perfect bar and the perfect sprung dance floor. And then you look at videos that we're seeing now of these dancers in countries in South America, in Africa, in Australia, even in India and South Korea, in these small villages where you've got the best dancers that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And because there is something to be said about heart and ingenuity. Now, do I think it's great that we all get a mentor or a facility, someone else who can look at us and go, great, love where you're started. Let me make some refinements. But I don't think, especially in dance and even more in choreography, where, to be honest, there's a couple programs online that credit themselves to teach choreographers, but it very much is a second nature of dance and just being a creator and learning and discovering yourself. I think there's a benefit to both. I think if you have the money or that's the way you want to approach it, but also remember that literal hip hop culture came from the parties. It came from the streets. When you think of breakdancing, it was guys like breaking on cardboard boxes on the side of streets in New York and Philadelphia and the West and the East Coast. And we could get into a whole conversation. So I don't think there's one right way to learn. For me, what really benefited, having a dance background where, like it or not, I was learning all styles. Now, there were classes, and I'm not going to call out my teachers, that were painful. Doing 6 hours a week of ballet for a guy who knew he was not going to be a ballet dancer was not always a great time. But as I got older and I started to really make the choice and know that this was the career I wanted to partake in, ballet assisted a lot with structure, with strength, with poise, with fluidity, musicality, things that would go into other dance genres that even if I wasn't going to be a ballet dancer, it gave me things in hip hop, and hip hop gave me things in tap, and tap gave me ideas in jazz. So that's one thing I really credit, is just not specifically a studio. I had some incredible mentors. Alicia Bruce was a tap teacher who I absolutely adored for many, many years of my life. Charlene Hart set a lot of my old solos in my final years and was an incredible creator and just brilliance of like creativity and running with my weird ideas that I would bring to her. There were people like Christina Linden and Barbara Vargas, who were from Vancouver Tap Dance Society at the time, who were just instrumental in really reshaping my fundamentals as a musician and introducing us to jazz artists and getting to work with people like Michael Rush and Eli Bennett, who's an incredible saxophone player. So just being versatile in that. When I got into the industry, especially as a choreographer, yes, kept up my dance training. Yes, continued working, continued creating. I would do sessions with friends where we would come in and like, you're badass at hip hop, you're badass at tap, I've learned stomp. Let's just, no one pay each other. Let's just learn. Let's just share art forms. And that was an incredible way of like a co-artist to artist of just helping each other out. It was also COVID. No one had money to be doing all these extra classes, and we found ways to keep training. But what really served me as a choreographer, I mentioned I went to film school. Shout out Langara. I did this 3-month, once a week program, and it was fun. Would I ever say that I walked away a filmmaker? Hell no. But I walked away knowing enough to give me a start. And I knew that I probably wasn't going to be a cinematographer or that I wasn't going to be a producer. But what I appreciate now looking back is when I come into a choreography space and an artist goes, this is my story, this is my genre, this is the movement that I want, and these are kind of the, like, just, and that's it. And I would go to them and go, great. And we'd set the piece. And I would walk around with my phone shooting this as a DP or DOP, which is a director of photography, the person who sets up the shots and the lighting and the camera frame. And because I have that film background, not just from Langara, but also just from every set I would work on, I would go to the DP and go, can I ask you a question about that? Or hey, with the sound team, the playback, why do you do that? How do you approach that? It now just gives me the ability that I'm not just walking as an I'm not just walking in as an artist. Because when I'm speaking to a cinematographer, do I know everything they know? Fudge no. No way in cream cheese icing. There's that word you're looking for. But what I do know is enough to converse with them where they go, no way, we can actually talk to you. Because it's like, you know those people who have only done business in their life and you go, you are dry. You are a dry personality. Or the people who have never done anything but the arts and you go, oh, sweetie, I can't hold the conversation because there's no logistics. There's no mindset or structure to how you're going to make this art come to life. Having that balance just allowed me to see my art not only from my perspective, but an audience's perspective, as well as a filmmaker's perspective. And to anyone who wants to work in the industry, I'm not saying you need to go to university, but I would say get on a film set and get on a film set as a PA or as an assistant to the art department and just learn. Because when you look at these positions and even my assistants, because I have a mentorship program through Platform on Camera, which is the company I co-direct with the incredible Brianna English. And one of the things we started is that I was getting so many choreography offers that I needed assistance. And we looked at it and went, hey, maybe this is a way to share with the next generation of what it's like to choreograph on set. And maybe they have futures as a choreographer, or even if it's to learn and go, you know what? Didn't enjoy that, because that's fair. Some people don't.
Absolutely.
But my favorite thing on all of those sets is I'm never speaking to them about how to choreograph. These artists that are 19 to 25, they know how to dance. They've got incredible ideas. But what they all walk away with is going, I never realized how much paperwork or how many emails or how much correspondence or having to understand what props and set decorators, operators, camera ops, framing, editors. That's the side that they learn about. And to me, it's the same thing I would say to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And just briefly extrapolating from that, as we move from being like on the student side of things to becoming the professionals, you want to talk a little bit about the importance of ongoing professional development for creatives working in the industry?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's really standard for dancers to continue going to class, but that's not necessarily a standard thing in all aspects of creative industries. But what kinds of professional development do you think are important to stay current throughout your career?
I think it's 50-50. I think that at least 50% of your time needs to be spent on your craft. Now, I am a very big believer in that does not mean being in class. I can speak to that as an actor. A lot of people are like, if you are not in scene study once a week, 52 weeks of the year, you are not an actor. And I go, okay, cool. So $380 times 12 times travel times, okay, I'm broke. Sometimes we don't have the money for that. And I'm not, much like I said, to dance doesn't have to be in a studio to be good training. I would say in all of your art forms, that working on your craft can be traveling and learning from other countries. I think that craft work can be reading books, watching videos, playing around, experimenting on your own time, getting together with friends and jamming, whether that's in dance or in music, doing your technique, taking care of your body, because I don't care whether you're a dancer or a singer, and I've made this mistake, I feel we all have. You get busy and your mind goes, all I have to focus on is work. And that's great. And then after that month production, you come home and you don't move for 2.5 weeks and you go, that's so strange. Why does my body feel dead inside? And I go, oh, because I wasn't taking care of myself. Your body is part of your craft. Your mental health is part of your craft. And I also think none of our realms, singers, dancers, musicians, actors, it's never going to stop. This is not a point where we're going to hit a mark and go, okay, singing is done. We've learned everything there is. It doesn't exist. So I would say just keep learning new things. If you start to feel good about something, challenge yourself, make it harder. Go do something different. Go learn, because again, you might not want to be a jazz singer, but I tell you from learning jazz form, when they made us learn of what a 12-bar blues is, or what AABA is, all of this kind of stuff, it changed my understanding of music, which changed my understanding of dance. I would also say, and this is to all you musicians out there, and let me, especially to my singers, let me help you out so you don't come into my room and look at me as if like deer in the headlights. Take a dance class.
Yes.
I don't care if your music is dance related, take a dance class. Because I'll give a great example. And this is not of the point of taking a dance class, but just how it can resonate. Serena Sun is an incredible local artist who is actually just in the process of leaving the country, and I'm so sad. But also, we're going to go work on music videos in Europe, and it's going to be great. I had done a music video with her before, and it was this badass female empowerment directed by the incredible Tamara J. Black. And a lot of that video, we built some like dance moves, but a lot of it was like how to be confident, because she had this powerhouse song talking about a traumatic experience that she had faced in university with a male. And it was incredible. Of like a lot of our sessions were just me giving her a jacket and saying, chuck it out a window and just dance across the room and live in your power, as much as it was creating of like how to be small and how to feel vulnerable and how to bring your physicality to portray that story. So when we came to her second video, which we just did and was just released, directed by Hannah Yang, and it was called Homecoming. And when they brought me onto the project, they're like, Christian, there's not really dance involved in this. And I went, that's fine. But they went, we want you on as a movement director because this whole thing is no speaking. It's all to her music. Some of it she'll lip sync, some of it she won't. But we want to be able to showcase her feelings from how she touched a watering can, how she leaned into a plant, the way her shoulders would shrug in an image. And a lot of you are probably listening going, well, yeah, that's all stuff I do on the daily. I challenge you now at home, shrug your shoulders. Wow. Shrug your shoulders and make it feel in a way that you're like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And watch yourself in the mirror and tell me if that looks or feels natural. Because I'm betting for most of us watching at home right now or listening at home, you're going to go, how do I shrug my shoulders? This is the stuff that dance does. I'm not saying take a dance class to be a dancer. I'm saying take a dance class to, A, have fun. B, learn about your body, and C, build some confidence in taking direction in ways that you're not used to. Because most of you are going to be able, like, I'm sure Sarah could walk in with an established artist and be like, I need you to punctuate that. I want you to crescendo a little bit more on that. Give me a sustain, drop the vibrato, tip the thyroid cartilage. All of these are probably things that you could work through, and singers would be like, got it, got it, got it, got it. Same as a dancer. If I walked in and said, hey, I need you to drop that right shoulder, find more of your center of balance, get your weight on the right foot, really bend into your thigh muscle and support yourself so you've got that inverse of movement, they'd go, done. But to the opposition, they would listen and go, I'm sorry, what language are you speaking? Because we just don't know. I don't believe that all dancers need to be singers. I don't believe that all singers and recording artists need to be dancers. But damn, the confidence you feel when you can strong and make a choice to walk into a room and live in that will just help you so that when you come to me for your music video and your director goes, hey, we're going to picture in 2 weeks, you get 2 hours to rehearse this. No matter how good any of us are, there is a limitation to how much dance life I can give you in 2 hours. Same of you trying to teach me how to fix a car in 2 hours. I might remember 1 or 2 things, but that car is not safe to drive in and should not be let out of the auto repair shop. So really just learn. And the other half of that is just live, experience, travel, go have that food you want. When we're talking about the other part of the creative craft or that training, be a human. Because I'm sorry, if you were just an artist, it gets really old really fast. No one wants to hear about your day and you go, well, I learned this song, or I was writing this song, or I was singing this song. At some point, my favorite stories are the things that have nothing to do, and you might get inspiration in a way that you never thought you could have.
I want to circle back for just a second because what you said is, it's funny. I tell students this really far more frequently than you might think, but that piece around go take a dance class, not to become a dancer, but there's another element of it that is where I'm coming from when I tell students to go take a dance class. And that is when you are performing live on stage and you are just trying to simply move with the music and not in a choreographed way, not anything. You are just trying to look like you're performing on stage. You look, I mean, sometimes you look incredibly awkward because you don't have any really good sense of like rhythm in your body. You sing beautifully and it is not lacking in your voice, but it is lacking in your body. And I want you to go take, I don't care what kind of dance you take, go take a jazz class, go take a hip hop class, go take whatever feels fun to do, but learn to move your body with more confidence, more fluidity, more rhythm, so that when you are moving to your own music on stage, it can feel more natural than it does right now. Please. And thank you.
And it's beautifully said. And this is every genre. I'm sorry. Maybe, and Sarah, you probably have a much better like database in your head of musicians and artists. I could not think of an artist right now that has not featured dance in some aspect of a video somewhere. I don't care whether you're thinking of like Janet and Paula and Prince and Michael. I don't care if you're thinking of like the Bee Gees back in the day, or even going to artists like Billie Eilish, Phineas, SZA, like all these artists, there is dance in some aspect. Now, you know what? Maybe you spite dance. Maybe you had a traumatic experience with a ballroom teacher as a kid. Right there. But dance is going to be a part of your world, whether you want it or not. And I think it's just something that when words aren't enough, we sing. When singing is not enough, we dance. That's always been the progression, and it's a progression that comes from musical theater. When I can no longer describe to you how I'm feeling, I sing to you. And when singing is not getting those feelings across, I'm going to do a cheesy tap dance number in the middle of 42nd Street. Whatever it might be. Sorry, not to call out 42nd Street. What? But that's it. Is just learn how to move. And I would say the same to any dancers on the call. Learn how to sing. Because what they do, the way they express with nothing but their voice, same to voice actors, as I'm in my studio, is just learn about the other side. I don't care if you're going to be a professional, just experience the other things. Because what's stopping you? That's always what I ask. I'm like, you want to dance? Yes. Then dance. And I know that's really simple. And for some people, they're like, but dance class, I get it. We were all that baby at some point. And especially if you're starting this older, I get it. It is terrifying to walk into a room. We feel the same. Walking into a room of singers right now, like, as I said, I grew up a trained singer with Peter Jorgensen, Sanders Whitting, Elaine Lindbergh, incredible vocal coaches. But if you put me solo on the spot to sing right now, even I might be a little, it's been a moment, even though I have the microphone here. Just learn, try new things. It's okay. You will survive. And if you don't, blame Sarah, not me.
I even tell students, if you're too scared to go take a proper dance class, go take a Zumba class.
Definitely.
Like that's just a very accessible community level. Nobody's looking at you. It's a dance-based exercise class. So at least it's like the start. And I know that is different in every way than a proper dance class. But if you are starting from zero and you're too afraid to walk into an actual dance class, it's not a terrible like bridge to start feeling that experience to get to the point where you can walk into an actual dance class.
And honestly, I'm going to call out Zumba. Y'all have better cardio than any dancer I've ever met. I did one Zumba class in my life and wanted to die. Now, great teachers, my God. And you know what? A lot of those moves are transferable. We might not repeat the same steps for 5 minutes to a 1990s Latin dance song that's been remixed by Pitbull, but, you know, we still have a good time.
Can you talk a bit about your process when you are choreographing for an artist? Like from start to finish, from artist inquiry, how do artists even put out the call to find choreographers, to finished video or live show? Walk us through the process you go through with that artist and your creative process to bring their vision to life.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to put an asterisk right on the top of this.
Okay.
There is at least in my artist, and maybe I'm just lucky with the coolest artist on earth, there is no one way that this goes. There are general pathways, but I have been approached and the process has been different in every single video. To this day, I think I've done about 15 music videos, I want to say 15 to 16, and every single one has its unique things. And for me, that's really fun because my job is never the same. I'm talking to my assistant right now of trying to create like a guide to choreographing. And she's like, and which project do you want me to base it on? I go, that's a great question. So usually when I get inquired, if the artist is a friend of mine, they're usually reaching out direct because they know of my work. Most of the time, the artist isn't coming to me, it's the director or the producer. So what happens most naturally is that an artist will start up a music video. Usually it's some friend of theirs, or if they have a record label, they've been referred to a director. So that director will come in and they sit down, they have concepts and production meetings and concept and visual meetings, and they really sit down and go, okay, this is the song. This is what the story is. What do you see for visuals? What do I see? Because between them, it's a collaboration because sometimes the artists know exactly top to tail of what they want their video to look like. Other times I know artists that have kind of gone to the director and gone, I created my baby. You take my baby and create it in a very cool visual sense. Okay, cool. So they work through this, and at some point in the process, they figure out, okay, there's dance or there's movement involved. Now, and this is an unfortunate fact, there's a lot of music videos out there that don't utilize choreographers because they're like, yeah, but there's not really dancing. It's just performance. That is when, and I'm going to say this to all of you, movement director. A movement director's job, and this has actually no legal terms. It's never actually been written down. When you talk to most like unions or different places, they don't even know what a movement director does. My description of a movement director is someone who's coming in and building movement that is not set or confined to beats of music. So like when you think of choreography, I'm building on like a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a 5. Tick, tick, ga, ta, sa, ta, ga. Movement directors, for me, has been building how a creature in a music video, why would they walk that way? How would they walk? How would they connect? It's also been taking rap artists who are like, dude, I'm not fucking doing dance, but I want like a move. Like I want to move. And this guy kept going to me. He's like, I just like my hands like this. And I'm like, well, your song says what's wrong with her. And I'm like, ha. And I just gave him that move. And then he went to Cologne. He's like, dude, I've got an idea. And now I can have something. In Serena's case, it was, how do we make this movement of her planting plants, watering them, unpacking her bags, look more realistic, or in the inverse, look a little bit more fantasy, look a little bit more fairy. For some people, it's teaching them how to walk, how to groove, so that when they do their performance track, they, as you said, don't look awkward or stiff. Sorah is a great example. Sorah's an absolute dear friend of mine. Her video Heartbreak from Home just got released about a month ago as well. And a lot of my work with her was just getting her in touch with her femininity, her power, because she was talking of a story about literally learning how to accept herself. And in spite of her upbringing or her culture or whatever she was facing, it was about being okay to feel powerful and building that movement progression so that she looked as honest in the broken and heartbroken and kind of cold and desaturated and sad and small as she did in the fiery, red, powerful woman that she became. So directors, if they're good, they're going to sit there and go, okay, great. We need a choreographer. We need a movement director. And again, I'm very lucky that I have quite a wide network. So even if they don't know me, they're usually going to their friends and going, hey, who do you know who does this type of work? Or they're coming to me directly. Or sometimes it's been on Facebook and there's been a call of like, hey, we need dancers in this video. I think I also need a choreographer, so maybe one of my dancers feels good to choreograph the video. Other times, I've seen a dance call on Facebook, and I've reached out to the director and gone, hey, do you have a choreographer? And they go, what's that? And I went, So that's my job. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I will now be on your film set. So I get brought in, and this is where it starts to get really, really entertaining. There are some directors who have come to me with actual animatics that they've drawn, like full-on CG characters that walk and talk and move. Now, if it's a dance move, it might like look very awkward, like the green men from Toy Story. But he actually has every shot and every plan and every angle, and it's more or less just kind of me piecing the dance together to make it look real and also making sure it works for the artist. I have other people who, most recently, I'm working on a video where they brought me a reference that was one of Phineas's recent videos. It's like him out in this beautiful field, and it's a contemporary duet, very similar to what Ed Sheeran was doing with like Lego House. And she just said, I want this. And then she wrote out every single shot of like, I want to walk away. I want to fall into his arms. This moment is me struggling for him. So I'll get written versions. I'll get visual kind of, stickman sketches. I'll get full video references. I'll get animatics. But all of them are coming to me to take a meeting and basically say, this is what I want. And if they know me, they're probably going, we know you can do this. We would love for you to say yes. Here's our offer as to finances. And I'm sitting there going, okay, when does this shoot? What is the logistics? How many rehearsal hours are you giving me versus how many rehearsal hours do I think it's logistically going to take for you to look good? Because if you're putting, I don't care, 2,000, 5,000, 20,000, 200,000, that's money. And money is not cheap. And I want you to look good. So if you come to me, and I had that recently with a project where they just, what they were asking for versus what they were trying to do, it was night and day. It was apple and pizza. There was no apple and pizza. My references, I feel like we need a transcription. But there was no connectivity of how that would ever come together. It was impossible. There was no way it was going to happen. And then I politely declined those and just say, I don't think I'm the right person for you. Thank you so much. I wish you the best. But all of them are coming to me, and if they're new, they're asking me, what do I think? Because usually before the meeting, they'll send me the song, if there is a song, or if it's allowed to be released. They're sending me, some people call it a visual treatment, where it's more like images and photos that they've taken out of things. Some people have what's called a full pitch deck, which is everything from the story to the artist to the director's statement to the dances to the framing to the light to the costume design to the editing style to the references, the way they want to premiere this, the dates that they're going to premiere this on. There's, again, such a variety of what I'm being given, but I always say, don't feel bad about giving too much materials. For me as a choreographer, I will always read every piece of material because I want to have an idea of who you are. And before we get into this meeting, your materials are telling me who you are. Or if you're telling me, hey, this is the crew I have on board, you're basically trying to bring it to me to show me what I would want out of it. And in return, I'm coming to this meeting. Some directors are very much on like, what's your take on this? What do you see visually? What are your references? Others are very big on like, this is what I want. Can you recreate this? Can you replicate this? Can you create in the genre? And others are like, we want dancing. What would you suggest? And I go, cool. So there's nothing wrong with any of those. Sometimes it's really fun to be given creative liberty. Other times it is really fun to have someone go, oh my gosh, I want you to create in this box. And I go, cool, this is very cool. I actually created a piece recently creating in a box, and I can't release who that was. But when that video releases within a couple months, you will see what I mean. So we do this initial meeting, and then from there, typically, I look at bringing on an assistant choreographer or as an associate choreographer or a co-choreographer. This is all dependent of how big the project is. If it's just me and you, and you're the only person on screen, or let's say, then maybe it is just you and I. Maybe it is a thing where it's like, for the budget and for the time we have, let's just keep this simple. If you come to me and say, hey, it's a duet, most of the time I'm going to bring an assistant because I want one of us to be able to show one of your tracks and one of them to be able to show the other person so that when we're sending this to the director, they can have a previs, a pre-visualization, which is where we're filming it to show them what we imagine it would look like. And it also just helps in the studio. Like I'm doing a video right now with Christina Kennedy for her new music video, and there's partnering involved in the video. And with that, I knew that I wanted to be able to focus on the male presence. And I also wanted to have a female presence, a feminine energy in the room to help build, because I can't speak fully to a feminine side because I'm not a woman and it would not be my place. I can build ideas, but she brings the authenticity. So from there, typically what happens is I'll tell my people, okay, great, we've got 2 weeks. I'm going to go in studio. I'm going to build this with my assistant. If we have a full scale of dancers, I might bring what's called a skeleton crew. And these are dancers that are not typically hired for the job. They're just hired for the purpose of the rehearsal, for me to be able to flesh out the idea, to really see what's going on, and then to show you what it'll look like. Now, if you're asking for 40 dancers and you're giving me no budget, you might get 4 people and we're going to make this look creative, and you as the director and artist are going to have to trust me that this is going to look the way it does. So from there, I always go in studio, we create it, I do videos, I do just rehearsal and previs videos, and I send that off to the director and the artist. Other choreographers very much like to not send any videos and just get in the room, because they believe, like, until I've said it with the artist, it's just never going to feel right. There's nothing wrong with that mindset either. My belief, especially when I'm working on more indie scale or smaller, or even just on rush timelines, I don't want to teach an artist something. Let's say I'm teaching them a minute of choreography. I don't want to teach them a minute and then show the director and then have the director go, actually, it's not really what I was looking for. And by the way, I've also changed the song and we're now putting it to this time of the music. So scrap what you did. And now we're going to go in and do this again. That's extra money. That's extra studio time. We all have busy lives. Most of these artists work full day jobs. So we're finding 2 hours when they have time to come in. I want my director and my artist to be as happy as possible. So I'll send them the previs. Most of the time, I am very grateful for the trust of my people. They come back and go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted. I have a couple modifications. We might change this angle. I might have to move this because I know on our set that there's a bush there that I just don't want to see, or a park sign, or a stop sign that I just don't want to feature in my video. And we'll make those little adjustments when they come in studio. Then from there, we'll do a rehearsal with the artist. Some videos, for example, I'll rehearse the artist alone if I feel that they maybe need a little confidence building, or maybe they just like to be someone who can ask a lot of questions. Or truthfully, and I don't mean this as a problem, if I get an artist who is like me, OCD, nitpicky, will refine every detail, I don't want that in front of my dancers. I want to honor the time and give you the commitment it'll take to make you happy, and then we'll bring in the dancers. Or sometimes it just makes more sense because it's going to take me 3 hours to teach them, and I can't teach them and you at the same time, and I don't like wasting people's time. So we'll work together, we'll work separate, and then on the final rehearsal, I'll always invite in my director. And the other thing that we try to always do is we get the cinematographer, and if there's a steady cam operator, which are those crazy guys who kill their bodies and themselves for their field, they hold a 50 to 70 pound camera on them on a full metal rig strapped to a backpack on their chest, and they walk around in a crouched, squatted position for 6-7 hours. They are the beasts of our industry. And the reason I like to bring them in... Yeah, honestly, I'm like, I really hope y'all are getting paid well for what you do. Because your career is going to be done at 40. So the reason I like to bring my camera team and my Steadicam op in is that it gives us all a chance to start playing with framing so that they can go in. Because there's been times where a cinematographer's gone, I love what you did, I can't shoot that. With the lenses we have, or with the camera we have, or there's a pole there that we're just not going to be able to get around. So it gives us all, again, the best possible outcome walking into the set day so that we're not guessing things on the day. I've had projects, there's Mr. James is Dead, directed by Josh Aries and Daniel Irving, was a Crazy Eights film I did years ago. We shot that dance scene probably 5 times before we ever got to set. So by the time we got to set, it was like a puzzle that we knew every piece, and we knew that every transition, every moment, every angle was perfect so that we could just go in on the day and enjoy. Everyone is different in this. So we finished that. Throughout the process, we might have some extra meetings. If some artists need extra dance classes, I might run a dance class. I might tell them, hey, my friend Emma Willie, she's an incredible heels, sexy hip hop choreographer. Go take with her. Like, you just need some more feminine energy in your life. And I will do everything in my power to make you feel prepared. When we get there on the day, I am there. And again, every set is different. Some directors have actually walked out of the room and gone, Christian, you direct this next scene. This is all the dance. I'm not saying anything. Have fun. And I'm like, okay, thank you for leaving me in charge of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they don't tell you that with warning. They're not like, by the way, I'm going to give this. Just in the moment, they go, you. And that's incredible. And to have their trust and to have their just compassion and care, that thinking that I can do that, I'm forever grateful. Other directors are very much on like, hey, I want you to be calling the cues on the day. I want you to be handling playback. At the end of the day, what I am there for is to support my artist and my dancers. So if I know that my job on this set is going to be, I need to keep that girl's energy up because she is dancing for 15 hours. And I know that her, natural tendency is to back off. I am your hype man for the entire day. And if that's what I'm there for, that's what I'm there for. Other days, it's to make refinements. Other days, we have to change full things on set because, oh, you wanted bare feet and you didn't tell me there's holes in the concrete all over this floor. Yeah, that might be an issue for your artist and your dancers. Yeah. So all of these are little modifications that I'm making, but I'm there to support my artist, my dancers, and my director. And we do that all throughout the process. Once the shooting is done, I'm more or less finished as a choreographer. The one thing I wish, and music videos are getting better, this is not an insult to anyone, but just like I would never claim to be an action director, most directors have not shot dance. The ones who have are godsends to work with because they understand certain cuts or certain things with timing. But I've also had music videos where they've completely changed the timing. And I don't mean they've like moved part A to part B and part B to part A. I mean that dance move started on the 8E and a 1 and they've gone 5 and a 6. And I'm like, it looks awful. And it's saying to the editors, it's not their fault. But one of the things I wish, and a couple of my mentors make this a requirement in their contract, and I'm getting to the point where this is going to be a rider, is that they sit in on the editing session. Now, that doesn't mean I'm hovering over your shoulder, critiquing everything. It's just that most music videos we're shooting MOS. That means they're not recording any sound on the day because you've got this beautiful soundtrack. The problem is that means the editor doesn't have a reference guide as to where that sits in the music. Now, if you're lip syncing, we really can't mess that up. And though some people have, thankfully not my videos, but I've seen it happen where I'm like, that's not what she's singing right now, but very creative. But they sit in on the room just to make sure it honors it all the way to the end. And then once that's done, I'm pretty much done and I wait to see it. Most of the time, I don't see my videos until they're released online, which is always a frightening thing. And I'll be honest, some videos I've done, I am so proud of, but other videos I watch back and I'm like, it's good. I don't think I've ever watched a video that's been like, oh, that sucked. But there have been videos where I watch it as the choreographer and go, you lost a little something because we worked so hard with the artist to portray these moments. And you've put them so out of chronological because, to you, visually, it looks good, but she looks terrified because that moment wasn't supposed to be in her power. It was supposed to be in her nerves. Or just like this dancing looks like you might as well not have a music track because it's not sitting in the music. And I would say the same, like if you were on stage and your drummer was having a heyday and turning this into a double time swing, you'd all look at him and go, what the hell, dude? Because, it's drumming, it's still on beat, but it changes the story. It changes the emotion. 100%. It changes the feel of this. So that's really where it sits in. And that very much is my process start to finish. And whether this is film and TV, music video, commercials, it all lives the same. The main thing that changes is how many hours do I have to do it? Because there's also been videos where I have had to choreograph on the day of the shoot. I did a video test recently, which was incredible. And we built a 2-minute dance number in 47 minutes on set while the camera team was setting up, because the way it worked out, we just didn't have any prep time. And they're like, but you'll be great. Just give us 30 seconds. And we went, no, we're going to give you a video. And it was incredible. And honestly, it's some of the best I've ever seen my choreography look.
Wow.
Because we didn't have time to judge. There was no time to go, is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? No, we just went, this is an idea, and you have put in the work. That's the thing that I think we forget is we're like, we'll figure it out on the day. Of course, there's always going to be things you're going to figure out on the day because we can't account for everything. However, you better be damn good in your skills because you can't be thinking about that song you're singing when you get on stage. You need to know that inside and out so that all the other things that happen is where your focus goes.
How does choreographing for camera differ from choreo for live performance, like stage or big tours, that kind of thing?
Choreographing for camera lives in a 360 world. Now, that depends on shots. There are certain times where they give us choreography where it's meant to look like a stage. And then it's kind of like, if you think of your visuals, this is what I have to look at. But a natural camera set, we can shoot 360. We can also cheat. And we cheat. And cheating is not a good thing in life, but in film, we cheat all day long. What I mean by that is we are setting up that one shot for 2 seconds that magically will transition into something else where they don't have to connect. So I can have my artist fall onto her back and then magically be running down the hallway 2 seconds later. So in film, we can break reality. We're playing not just to an audience, but we're playing to an entire room. And that also takes into account, am I looking at the camera? Am I looking past the camera? What is that telling us about the story? Am I singing to you or am I trying to find something in the room? So the ability to create for camera is a lot more extensive. We also don't have to worry about your breath control because you're not singing live. So the things that I can do for camera are a lot more physically intense where we probably wouldn't get away with something that physically exerting. I think also there's just a lot of worlds where you can be by yourself. You can have the dancers in it. And this can go back and forth. The ability to tell stories is so different. And I think it's also just knowing that on stage, I'm looking at you as a full body. In camera, I have the ability for you to only look at my hand and watch as I'm doing something. So we can be a lot more selective with the story. When it comes to live stage, I have to take into account the fact that we've got cables on the stage. We've got a limited amount of room. Are you holding a microphone? Because that is also going to adapt. Do I have to make you live at a mic? Can we move around? Do you want to interact with your audience? Do you want to interact with your band members? We're also stuck to this because most of the time an artist is not going to sing like this. Now, maybe for a fun reveal moment, but it's also just all questions of now we've got a live audience. Do you want to look down to your people? What type of blocking? Every live performance venue you work at is slightly different. So I also can't build something that is like too specific because if this stage has a little like front runway out into the audience, but the next 4 don't, well, then we got to have an idea for what you can do. Or maybe I'm there on the tour with you and we have to adapt. And you come to me and go, Christian, I want to use that pole. What can we do? And I'm like, well, thank you for coming to me, trained pole dancer I am. We're going to figure out how to do this. And I'm saying this to manifest it because that's part of something that will be coming later this year. So if anyone knows of great pole classes, I think I should join. But
love that.
Those are things, thinking just about logistics of stage, logistics of the environment you're playing in, and also knowing that we don't get to cut. So everything is connected. So if you're doing a dance piece, you don't get a moment to breathe and then go into that next moment. It has to connect. So all of that is played like theater. It's live. And in live, anything can happen. So we have contingency plans of like, you fall on your face, you're going into a moment. In film, if something goes wrong, if a light turns off by accident, the entire production shuts down. And so there's just a little bit of that. It's like both of them are so fun to create for. Like, hey, look at the Super Bowl. Look at those halftime performances. They're unreal. But there's just a different set of logistics that we're playing with.
And I just want to say thank you for recognizing that singers do not have the same breath capacity when they are dancing full out as when they are not, because I think a lot of choreographers do not take that into consideration.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of singers are not aware of that distinction.
Yeah.
So having to actually modify, well, two things, having to actually modify your choreo, your movement to account for what your breath will support while you're singing. And also there's a reason that you see the TikTok videos of Lizzo on the treadmill singing, or I don't know who else, Broadway, Beyonce on the treadmill singing, and whoever on the like running full out and singing at the same time. Because if that is a thing that you are going to like go on tour and do like if you're Britney Spears or Janet Jackson or somebody, there's a reason that they lip sync some of the stuff. But if you are going to sing live and move like that, your cardio has to be top notch. Yeah. You have to train that up.
Yeah. And I truly believe we can do anything we put our minds to.
Yes.
But are you ready to do the commitment? Because I think a lot of singers come to me and they go, I want to look like that. And I go, great. Go take dance class for a year and come back to me. No. I want to look like that in 2 weeks. I go, cool. That, and I know they never mean it this way, but it's insulting. When a director comes to me and says, hey, I want to take this artist and I want to take your top-notch dancers that have been dancing for 15 years and I want my artist to look doing the same choreo better than them.
Right.
And I go, I will never say no, and I will do everything in every little bag of tricks that I have. But there has to be some understanding that I cannot teach 4,000 hours of training when you're giving me 4. Now, we can pull miracles, and in film, we can sheet that a hell of a lot better.
Yes.
But if you're going to stage, you have to have some realism. Or you come to me and go, I want to strut across the stage, but my heels are 12 inches. And I'm like, cool. Are you prepared for what that means? Well, I just want to look hot. Great. Are you prepared for what you're going to have to do? And you know what? If you can pull it off, all the power. I will assist you in your crazy ideas, but there has to be some give and take, especially when you're starting out. We all want $1 million budgets. The reality is we're not going to get them starting out.
We don't have them.
We don't. Vancouver, for music videos, we're kind of limited on music video support. It's getting better, but have some realism when you're coming in. And if I can say one more thing, and this is a total sidestep, if you're going to pay people and you want dancers, please, oh God, realize that when you ask them to work for free, that's like asking you to perform for free at a concert.
Right.
These people are doing rehearsal hours. They're doing your shoot days. And I don't consider any project a freebie. Freebie doesn't exist. I'm either making money or losing money, because I am losing money by the time I'm taking off, by the jobs I'm giving up, by the food, the clothing that you're probably asking me to bring myself. So if you can, get a little bit of a budget, just even if it's $50, if it's $100, if it's $150, just something to honor these artists, because that's what we need to do. We need to support each other as artists in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. When you are going to work with a singer or band to choreograph their project, either for video or for stage, what do you wish they knew ahead of time that would make the whole project more successful or run more smoothly?
I think some artists are so, and this is not just artists, I'm going to call out directors too. I think some people are so scared that because they don't know dance, that they're not allowed to say anything. So I've had certain projects where people will come in and go, I really don't know what I want. And like, I'm not a dancer. So like, I don't know the world of dance. And I'm like, okay. And they go, so just make something for me. And anytime someone says, just do something, I get very stressed out. Now, I have lucked out that because of the music, most of the time, I'm pretty good at getting an idea of what I think your song needs. But there's also been times where people have come back and been like, well, that's not what I wanted. And I go, And then they send me, all of a sudden, they've got these reference videos and these songs and these ideas and these artists. And I'm like, well, but you never said that. Like, well, we were worried. So right off the top, just because you don't know dance, don't feel like you can't talk to me about dance things. If you come in egocentric and try to tell me you know everything, that's a different story. But I always say, I love my directors who come in and they're like, you know, like, can we do something like this? I'm like, this is just what I want to see in the video. I don't know what that is. Or they're like, can I show you this video, this, like that move or this? I love those discussions. You don't have to be a dancer to talk dance. You just have to be willing to be open and kind and explore with me. That's one of the main things. I think the other thing I would just say,
and before you move on, I just want to say to you that I've had music producers on the show. I've had a video director on the show. I've had like people who are not the musical artists, but the peripheral people to that. And that sentiment has been echoed by every single one of them. The need to come in with your like idea files. Basically, give me your reference pieces, the artists that you like, or the videos that you like, or the I like the sound, you know, if it's a producer, the sound of the guitar in this song, or for a director, I like the way this shot is lit in this video, or whatever it is, obviously to the medium, but that is a consistent thing that everybody says because it makes the path from A to B so much shorter.
Yeah, and clearer. And that was going to be my other point, is the other thing I wish artists, and again, is this really an artist job? No, but I think if you're creating a small budget or an indie or even anything up to 50K, it's your job to support your people. I wish they knew a little bit more about the logistics of what they were asking for, because the amount of time someone will go, I want tricking, but we're on cement. And I don't find out about the cement until 2 weeks later. Or like, hey, I want 20 dancers, but my room is 10 feet by 14 feet. Or, hey, I really want them in bare feet. And I'm like, okay, great, but where are we? Well, we're out in an ocean for 14 hours in the middle of December. These are not even from a point of like being safe, but most of the time it is safety things of like, if you're going to ask for these things, the struggle I get of like, what is the floor? How big is the room? You have a stage and you tell me your stage is 40 by 40 feet. I'm like, okay, but how much room is your musicians taking up? How much room are your music equipment taking up? How much room are the PA speakers on the front of the stage? Where do the lights actually go to? Because that 40 by 40 more often than not turns into like 12 by 8. And you telling me to block this out and build this for a full stage is very different than me knowing I have a stage that's 45 feet by 8 feet. And someone once told me that like it's 12. It ended up being 6.5. And that is a very, and I can build to that. But you need to know these things, because these are the things that I'm going to come at you. And if your choreographer is not asking these things, you need to check their qualifications, because if they're just like, I'm just going to create dance moves. No, it's not going to happen. You're going to have a very disastrous set day. And that is something that I refuse to let happen. I don't care if this is indie, student, professional, League of Champions, Sony Records. I am going to hold you all to the highest standard, because I'm going to hold myself to the highest standard. There is not an in-between. We're going to commit and be passionate, or we're not going to do this. That's just how I work.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you think is really important for up-and-coming artists to know?
Show us how much you love what you do.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing of like, there's always been that joke of like, people pay project. If you've got all three, you've got the perfect, like if the people are great, the project's inspiring, and the pay is great, you've got the dream world. If you've only got two of those, that's all you can do. And if you've only got one, you really need to question yourself why you're doing this job. And if you've got zero, run. But I think what frustrates me sometimes, and I get it, like some of us are just nervous stepping into a room. I'm a very overtly eccentric person, so I have no issue being myself when I step into a room. But I want to know why you love this, because if I'm only getting paid $100, the thing that I'm going to care about the most is that you care about this. And if you've got a story, or if you've got a real reason why this entices you, or this really brings it to life, or why you're creating this, you would be amazed at the amount of people you can get involved with your project. But if you walk in the room and you're apologizing for the budget, and you're apologizing for wanting things, and you're not confident in your vision, or you're scared to say anything, Dude, no one's going to want to work on your job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how talented you are. I am at the point, luckily, where I'm like, if I see an artist and I start to get instincts that they're going to be divas, I don't care how big the project is. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my stress. I am too old for this, and I'm not old.
Christian, where can people find you? Web, social media, upcoming projects that you'd like them to be aware of, any of those things?
It means a lot, Sarah. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I hope this has been
thank
insightful
you so
for
much.
some. I'm going to say that again. So tongue-tied. I hope this has been insightful for some people. I hope you've all enjoyed listening to my craziness. If you want to find me, I'm on every social platform possible. I'd say Instagram is where I hang out the most, at the Christian Lagasse, Lagasse. I'm on LinkedIn if anyone's cool in business and you use that. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, but Twitter just terrifies me. I think it's Chris JD Lagasse. Twitter's just a scary place.
I know. I took myself off Twitter.
Honestly,
it's
I'm
got
like,
too scary.
Too politics. It's fine.
Yep.
You can also find me on my website, www.christianlagasse.com. And for upcoming projects, I'm really excited. We've got a couple music videos that will be coming out later this year. One, as I said, with Michaela Slinger of 604 Records, who is a dear friend who I've known for years. I've got a couple films that will be hitting film festivals. We're hoping that Toronto International Film Festival will be the start, but I can't announce any of those names at this time because we're waiting for them. I just found out that I've been signed on to direct a series that we will be starting filming later this year with a development grant through BC Arts Council. So we'll be doing a 6-episode series that will be, again, all these wonderful things that I'd love to tell you about. A couple video games coming out later this year to the App Store and to Steam. We'll announce them all when we can. But yeah, I'm just so grateful that people value my art, value my creativity, value my trust in my art. And to have people like you, Sarah, who continue to just be a champion for young artists, for new artists, for veteran artists, so that we can all just make this industry a better place for us all to play in. Because that's the goal. I want to move forward.
It really
for
is.
Less ego, more kindness, and more just enjoying what we do, because life is way too damn short.
It really is. It really, really is. And I know that my audience is mostly musicians, but I'm going to invite you, just in case any of them are also dancers, I'm going to invite you to also give the listings for platform, because that is I know that, speaking of supporting the next up and coming generation of artists, I know that is near and dear to your heart too.
Thank you. So if you want to check us out on Instagram, there's a company called The Original Platform, all one word. Platform on Camera is an incredible company, an industry entertainment mentorship program that's called The Collective that runs through Platform. But Platform on Camera was created by the incredible Brianna English, and I am now a co-director of the company. We are all about showing young dancers, young artists, how to enter the film and television industry, not just as dancers, but as creatives. So as actors and singers and anything else in the creative industry that you might not have thought was part of your realm. But because of your background as a dancer or a movement specialist, you don't know how far this can go. And our program aims to just showcase, create, network, build industry opportunities through feature films, TV shows, pilots, music videos. We've just started accepting our term 3 candidates, which we will be starting in September for our mentorship program. But being able to give back to these young artists and see them flourish and become booking actors, booking dancers with top talent agents across Canada, moving to LA, doing cruise ship contracts, music videos, live tours, entertainment, films, and so many other amazing things, as well as premiering outfits at the Yellow Jackets premiere in LA. There's been so many incredible things that we've been doing. So please check us out. Shout out to Brianna English for being the person who is the champion of that. Always feel free to reach out. And hey, if you need choreography, you need movement direction for a video, or you just want to know how to dance or move a little bit more to build your confidence for your future careers, always feel free to reach out.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Christian. I feel like we could sit here and talk for hours and hours and hours.
Oh, we could. Very easily.
Because we could. But I really appreciate your time today.